Every human being carries within them a hidden architecture, a set of forces so powerful that they quietly shape every detail of life. You have felt it many times. A sudden turn of events that seemed to arrive out of nowhere, a small thought that grew into an entire reality, an emotion that changed the direction of a relationship, a word spoken that could not be taken back. None of this is random. These are the fingerprints of forces you have always possessed, though perhaps you did not yet recognize them. Imagine your life as a canvas, vast and unpainted at birth. With each passing day, brushstrokes appear, some bright, some dark, some bold, some faint. Often you believe those strokes are made by circumstance, by chance, by the hands of others. But in truth, the brush is yours. You are the artist. And from the very beginning, 7 great powers have been resting in your grasp. Not physical tools, not instruments forged in fire, but inner abilities. Subtle, invisible, yet greater than any tool of stone or steel. The paradox is this: no one told you. No one explained that your attention has the strength to illuminate, that your imagination can draw the blueprint of the future, that your belief has the weight to harden possibilities into fact. No one revealed that your emotions breathe life into form, that your words carry the force of decree, that your intuition whispers direction when logic fails, or that your will can drive creation into motion. These 7 powers, though always present, have been hidden beneath a kind of blindness, leaving you to create unconsciously, stumbling into beauty at times, but just as often shaping struggle and scarcity without meaning to. What you hold in your hands now, the 7th power, is not a book of theory. It is the act of lifting the blindfold. It is the rediscovery of your own authority. Through the voice of Book Sounds Better You will not be given new tools, but reminded of what has always belonged to you. The canvas of your life is still unfinished. The colors are still wet. The design is still open. And the brush is still in your hand. The question is no longer whether you have the power. The question is how you will choose to use it. Chapter 1, the first power, attention. Under the stillness of your inner world lies the first and most essential key to shaping reality. It does not look extraordinary. It does not come wrapped in mystery. In fact, it is so close to you, so constantly present, that most people overlook it. Yet every dream fulfilled, every life rebuilt, every transformation begins here, with the power of attention. We often imagine attention as something passive, as if it were nothing more than the act of watching. A small coin we hand over without thought, a light we switch on to reveal what already exists. But this is an illusion. Attention is not a flashlight that merely exposes the world. It is a force. It is a living beam of energy that nourishes whatever it touches, the channel through which your creative life flows. Where your attention rests, your energy gathers. Where your attention withdraws, energy dries up. What you look at grows. What you ignore fades. Think of your life as a vast garden. Within the soil lie countless seeds, success and failure, peace and conflict, joy and despair, health and illness. At any moment, all of them exist in potential. Yet only the seeds you water with your attention break through the soil and become your lived experience. If your focus lingers on fear, scarcity, or resentment, those seeds bloom into thorny vines that take over the garden. If your attention is given to gratitude, to purpose, to solutions, those seeds blossom into fruit that nourishes you and those around you. And so the question is not whether you have power, the question is what you choose to empower. Every moment, every glance of your awareness is an act of creation. Modern science whispers of this same truth. In quantum physics, the act of observation itself alters the behavior of particles. The observer is never neutral. Likewise, your attention is not neutral. It is participation in creation. Every time you concentrate on a possibility, you help to draw it out of the realm of potential and into form. You collapse infinite options into a single lived reality. This is why 2 people can live through the same external event and walk away with entirely different experiences. One sees failure, another sees opportunity. One feels despair, another feels renewed determination. The event itself is neutral. It is attention that shapes its meaning. Attention that gives it life, attention that makes it either a stepping stone or a stumbling block. Attention, then, is not simply about what you notice, it is about what you give reality to. It is the sculptor's hand on the clay. The sharper the focus, the more defined the form. The more scattered the focus, the more shapeless the creation. Imagine the beam of a laser cutting through steel, tight, unwavering, concentrated. That same light, scattered into 1,000 weak directions, cannot cut through a single sheet of paper. The difference is not in the energy itself, but in the precision of its attention. But here is the challenge. You live in an age where attention has become the most valuable resource on Earth. Entire industries exist to capture it, to fragment it, to scatter it across endless distractions. Every notification, every headline, every piece of digital noise is a hand reaching for the spotlight of your consciousness. And the more your attention is divided, the weaker it becomes. Imagine a spotlight on a great stage. When its beam is steady, it reveals a single figure with clarity and power. The audience sees the meaning of the play. The story unfolds with direction. But when that spotlight is shattered into 100 weak beams, the stage becomes chaos. The story is lost, and nothing receives enough light to come alive. This is the condition of fragmented attention, and it is the condition in which most of the modern world lives. We leap from one unfinished task to another, our minds scattered across dozens of open tabs, half-read messages, flashing icons, and constant noise. Our spotlight is no longer a coherent beam, but a broken disco ball, spraying light in every direction, but never enough to give life to what truly matters. And the consequence is not just lost productivity, it is a life half-lived. Fragmented attention creates fragmented experiences. Half-finished projects, shallow conversations, goals abandoned before they bear fruit, relationships strained by inattention, and a constant feeling of being busy but never fulfilled. If you feel overwhelmed, restless, or perpetually behind, it is not because you lack capacity. It is because your attention has been scattered, parceled out in fragments so small that nothing you truly value ever receives enough light to grow. The very first act of sovereignty for anyone who wishes to sculpt reality with intention is therefore clear. You must reclaim your attention. You must stop surrendering the spotlight of your consciousness to the demands of the world and begin to direct it deliberately, consistently, and with authority. Attention is your most sacred capital, and reclaiming it is the foundation upon which all other powers rest. Reclaiming your attention begins with recognition. You must first see how it is being used, or more accurately, how it is being stolen. Because every moment you are focused on trivialities, you are voting with your consciousness for a life that does not reflect your deepest desires. Reclaiming your attention is not about withdrawing from the world. It is about choosing what parts of the world deserve your energy. It is about saying, this matters and this does not. This receives my focus and this I release. Strengthening attention is like strengthening a muscle, and like every muscle, it grows with practice. The first practice is awareness, becoming an auditor of your own mind. For one full day, track where your focus truly goes. Set a reminder to pause once every hour and ask yourself, where has my attention been for the past 60 minutes? Write it down without judgment. Was it on meaningful work, or was it scattered among worries, resentments, or the endless stream of distractions flashing across your devices? By evening, you will hold a map of your own energy leaks. Awareness itself is a form of reclamation, for you cannot direct what you refuse to see. The second practice is training. If attention is a muscle, meditation is the gym where it grows strong. Dedicate even 5 minutes a day to focus on the simple rhythm of your breath, the rise and fall of air entering and leaving. Inevitably, your mind will wander. That wandering is not failure. It is the very resistance against which the muscle grows. Each time you notice your attention drifting and gently return it to the breath, you are performing a repetition. You are building strength. With time, your spotlight becomes steady, your beam grows sharp, and the chaos of scattered thought begins to quiet. The third practice is intention. Each morning, before the noise of the day begins, take 2 minutes to decide deliberately where your attention will shine. Write it down. Perhaps your focus today is completing a project, or listening deeply to your family, or holding gratitude through each encounter. This written choice acts like a compass. Throughout the day, when distractions pull at you, you can return to that decision, realigning your spotlight with what truly matters. But attention is not only about tasks and goals. At its deepest level, attention is love. To give your undivided focus to another person is to say, "You are worthy of being seen. You matter enough for me to be here fully." A child blossoms under the gaze of a parent who truly pays attention. A partner feels cherished when they are not half heard through the filter of screens and distractions, but fully received. Even your own inner self responds with healing when you turn your attention inward with kindness instead of criticism. Attention is the purest form of presence, and presence is the soil in which all meaningful connection grows. Your attention is also your currency. It is the way you purchase reality. Every moment, you are investing it somewhere. Each second is a vote cast. You may not realize you are casting these votes, but the universe does, tallying every focus and responding with unfailing accuracy. Where your attention goes, your life follows. This is not poetic metaphor, it is law. And so reclaiming your attention is not a small task. It is not an optional refinement. It is the first act of freedom. It is the foundation of mastery. Without it, the other powers remain dormant. With it, you become the sculptor who sees clearly, whose hands no longer fumble in darkness, but shape with vision and intent. Let this truth settle deeply. Attention is life. Attention is choice. Attention is creation. The world will always try to claim it, to scatter it, to pull it toward fear and noise and endless triviality. But the spotlight is yours. The beam is in your hand. The question is not whether you will focus. The question is where. And that choice, repeated moment by moment, will carve the shape of your days and define the masterpiece of your life. Because in the end, your life will not be remembered for what you wished, or what you dreamed, or what you intended. It will be remembered for what you attended to. You become what you focus on. You create what you allow your awareness to nourish. Every moment is a chance to choose again, to lift the spotlight and direct it toward what deserves to live. The first power is not about adding anything new to you. It is about awakening to what you already carry and choosing, at last, to wield it with clarity. From this moment forward, every time you turn your attention, remember that you are sculpting. You are shaping the clay of your existence. You are calling reality into form. And with each choice of focus, you are either feeding weeds or watering fruit. Reclaim your attention, and you reclaim your life. Chapter 2. The second power, imagination. Welcome to the Mind Cinema, the soul's secret workshop, the inner theater where the second and perhaps the most magical of the seven powers reveals itself, imagination. In our modern world, we have committed a subtle but serious mistake. We have downgraded imagination, dismissing it as a plaything for children, a distraction for dreamers, an indulgence for artists who cannot face reality. We have been conditioned to believe that imagination is impractical, a form of escape, an unproductive luxury. Yet nothing could be further from the truth. For imagination is not the escape from reality. It is the very workshop where reality is built. Every structure, every tool, every human achievement that surrounds you first lived inside someone's imagination. The bridges that carry thousands of lives each day, the aircraft that cross oceans, the medicines that heal, the devices you hold in your hands, all of them were once invisible, intangible visions formed in the private world of thought before they could ever be touched. Imagination is not a fantasy. It is the most advanced simulator of reality in existence. It is the faculty that allows you to step into the future before it has arrived, to build a prototype of what does not yet exist, and to return to the present carrying a blueprint as clear as stone. The problem is not that you lack imagination. The problem is that you use it unconsciously. Every human being lives in the theater of the mind all day long. You project films constantly, whether you are aware of it or not. But instead of directing masterpieces, many people fall into the trap of destructive imagination. Destructive imagination is what we call worry. Worry is the act of rehearsing the future you most fear. And it is running the horror movie of your own life on loop. You assemble vivid images of failure, of loss, of catastrophe, and you play them with such intensity that your body reacts as though they were real. Your nervous system floods with stress. Your subconscious absorbs the film as truth, and you unknowingly feed energy into the very outcomes you dread. Worry, then, is nothing less than a prayer for what you do not want. But imagination need not enslave you. Used deliberately, it becomes vision. Constructive imagination is vision, the disciplined choice to project the future you desire, to to craft the masterpiece you want to live. It is the act of becoming the director of your own mental cinema. No longer a victim of the horror reels that run on autopilot, but a visionary shaping the film of your destiny. Think of the architect who designs a building. Before a single brick is laid, that architect has already walked through the halls in their mind, touched the walls, stood beneath the roof. The structure is built twice, first invisibly in the imagination, then tangibly in the world. So it must be with your life. To harness imagination fully, you must understand the laws that govern this secret workshop. The first law is that the subconscious is blind. The subconscious mind, which acts as the builder of your reality, cannot distinguish between a real experience and one that has been vividly, repeatedly, and emotionally imagined. To the subconscious, both are equally true. Imagine biting into a lemon. Picture its sharp citrus scent, the burst of sourness flooding your tongue. Even now, as you imagine, your body reacts, your mouth waters, your glands activate. This is the proof. The imagined experience becomes a physical one. In the same way, when you imagine success with enough clarity and repetition, your subconscious accepts it as already achieved. The second law is that feeling is the seal. A mental image, no matter how detailed, is only a sketch unless it is stamped with emotion. The feeling is the ink that signs the blueprint, the message that tells the subconscious, this is real, build this. You can visualize wealth, but if the emotion beneath it is desperation, the subconscious does not hear wealth, it hears lack. You can imagine love, but if the emotion beneath it is loneliness, the subconscious does not hear connection, it hears absence. The key, then, is not simply to see your vision, but to feel it, to breathe life into it with the emotions that match its fulfillment. The third law is to focus on the what, not the how. The role of imagination is to design the finished building, not to figure out the construction details. The subconscious and the greater intelligence of the universe are the builders. They organize the materials, arrange the timing, orchestrate the synchronicities. When you obsess over the how, you step out of your role as the architect and interfere with the flow. Your task is to hold the finished vision so clearly, so powerfully, that the how is compelled to appear. To step into this role of architect, you must practice with intention. Begin with the diagnosis of your mental cinema. For one day, observe the films your mind automatically plays. When your thoughts wander toward the future, ask yourself, is this a worry film or a vision film? Write it down. Keep 2 columns in a journal, one for fear, one for hope. By evening, you will see with clarity whether you are using your imagination to build a paradise or a prison. Next, write a vision script. Choose one meaningful goal to achieve in the coming 6 to 12 months. Imagine not the struggle to reach it, but the moment immediately after it is accomplished. Write a short scene describing your success in sensory detail. What do you see around you? What do you hear? What do you feel in your body? Let it be rich, vibrant, full of color and texture. Then rehearse it. Each day, set aside 5 minutes. Read your script, close your eyes, and project the scene onto the inner screen of your mind. Do not watch from the outside. Live it in the first person. Feel the air in the room, the sound of voices, the rush of relief or joy. Above all, let the emotion flood your body, the emotion of a wish already fulfilled. This is not childish fantasy. This is rehearsal. Athletes use it before competitions, envisioning each movement until the body performs as if the event has already happened. Musicians use it before concerts, running the performance in the mind until the fingers find the notes with ease. You too can use it, not for games of the body, but for the game of life itself. You are rehearsing your future until it becomes your present. Imagination is not an escape from reality. It is the construction workshop of reality. Every time you project with persistence and emotion, you are drafting a blueprint. Your subconscious, blind but obedient, receives the order. Life itself begins to gather materials, align circumstances, open doors, and what was once only an inner film begins to step out onto the stage of your existence. So, understand this. You are always imagining. The only question is what film you are choosing to direct. Will you keep replaying the horror stories of fear, or will you dare to create the masterpiece of your highest vision? To master imagination is to master the blueprint of reality. And when you combine this second power with the first, when attention fuels imagination with steady light, you awaken the force that begins to sculpt life exactly as you desire it to be. Chapter 3, the third power, belief. You now have a vision, alive with feeling, strengthened by the beam of your attention. You have charged it with imagination and painted it vividly on the screen of your inner mind. Yet, for the great builder of your universe, for your subconscious mind, that silent architect of form, to begin its work, the blueprint requires one last element. It must be signed. It must be sealed. It must be authorized with an unshakable signature. That signature, the third and perhaps the most decisive of the 7 powers, is belief. Belief is not hope. Hope leaves the door open to failure. Belief is not desire. Desire is born from a sense of absence, from a yearning that whispers, "I do not have." Belief is something deeper, stronger, more absolute. Belief is inner knowing. It is a silent certainty held within, regardless of appearances, regardless of what the senses report, regardless of whether anyone else shares it. Belief is the invisible verdict rendered in the court of your own consciousness. And the moment you accept something as true at this deepest level, the entire universe begins to rearrange itself to mirror that truth. Belief is not a small opinion about reality. Belief is the command you give reality. You do not believe what you see what you believe. This is one of the most powerful laws of consciousness, and it expresses itself through 2 simultaneous mechanisms: belief as a filter and belief as a magnet. As a filter, belief shapes perception. Every second, your senses are bombarded with an ocean of information. Colors, sounds, sensations, opportunities, threats. Billions of signals flowing toward your brain. But your conscious mind cannot handle that flood. So there is a gatekeeper, a filter, a guardian that decides what passes through. And the key it uses to make its decision is your belief. If you carry the belief that opportunity is rare, that prosperity is elusive, that life is hard, then your filter becomes a loyal servant to that belief. It notices only what confirms scarcity. It lets through every article, every comment, every sign that life is a struggle, while filtering out anything that contradicts the assumption. You could stand before a golden door of possibility and never register it, because your belief has instructed your mind. This is not relevant, but change the belief, and the filter changes with it. Tell yourself with conviction, opportunities are everywhere. Prosperity flows toward me with ease, and the guardian obeys. Suddenly, evidence begins to appear. You notice examples of abundance where before you saw none. You meet people who seem aligned with your growth. The doors were always there, but now your eyes are tuned to see them. Belief is also a magnet. It does not only filter the world you see, it broadcasts to the world what you are. Every belief hums with a frequency, and that frequency draws matching circumstances toward you by the law of resonance. Beliefs shape thoughts, thoughts generate emotions, and emotions radiate energy. A belief in scarcity generates fear, and fear vibrates in harmony with situations that perpetuate lack. A belief in abundance generates gratitude, and gratitude resonates with experiences that reinforce wealth. The universe does not respond to your shallow desires. It responds to your deep vibrational signature. That signature is coded by belief. A belief of unworthiness is not just a private thought. It is a beacon that draws situations confirming your unworthiness. A belief that you are magnetic and valuable is not just a pleasant affirmation. It is a living magnet that pulls people, events, and opportunities that echo back, yes, you are. Your belief is a self-fulfilling prophecy. The world is not handing you what you merely wish for. It is handing you a mirror of who you believe you are. This is why belief is the most decisive of the 7 powers. With attention, you can focus. With imagination, you can design. But only belief authorizes. Only belief seals the blueprint with the command, "This is real, build it now." If this is true, then the most important work you can do is to become a belief engineer. To identify the silent assumptions shaping your life. To expose the beliefs that have limited you, and to deliberately install those that empower you. This begins with understanding how beliefs are formed. Most were not chosen. They were installed in you by repetition, by authority, by emotionally charged experiences in childhood that bypassed logic and sank straight into the subconscious. They became programs running quietly in the background, dictating what you notice and what you attract. But the good news is this: The same mechanisms that formed old beliefs can be used to create new ones. Repetition, emotion, imagination, embodiment. With these, you can write a new code for your inner reality. To do this, begin with the root belief diagnosis. What you see on the surface is rarely the real problem. Often, the struggle is a symptom of something deeper. Suppose you say, "I don't make enough money." That seems like a financial problem. But dig deeper. Why don't you make enough money? Because my job isn't valuable enough. Why do I think my job isn't valuable? Because I don't have enough talent. Why do I believe I lack talent? Because I am afraid of failing. Why am I afraid of failing? Because I believe my worth depends on success. And why do I believe that? Because deep down I feel unworthy of love unless I perform. There lies the root. Not money, not talent, but worth. The subconscious blueprint that says, "I am unworthy." When you expose a root belief to the light of awareness, you weaken it. You see that your struggle is not what you thought it was. It is not about money. It is about identity. The second practice is the advocate and defender method. Write down your limiting belief in plain words. Become its advocate. List every reason, every piece of evidence you have collected across the years to support it. Let the critic make its case fully. Then, on a fresh page, write a new empowering belief. I am intrinsically worthy. I am valuable. I am capable of abundance. Now become its defender. Search your past, however small the examples may seem, for evidence to support it. Did someone ever affirm your talent? Did you overcome a challenge once thought impossible? Did you ever receive love freely, without conditions? Collect these as proof. You are retraining the filter of your brain to confirm a new truth. The third practice is embodiment. Words are not enough. Thoughts are not enough. To install a belief, you must live it. Choose your new belief and for one entire day, behave as if it were already your deepest truth. Not with exaggerated action, but with subtle being. If you believe you are worthy, how do you walk into a room? How do you speak? How do you write an email? How do you decide between fear and confidence? Each moment becomes an opportunity to embody your chosen truth. And when your subconscious experiences this embodiment repeatedly, it cannot distinguish between rehearsal and reality. It accepts the new belief as fact, and your vibration shifts. Your beliefs are not fixed laws. They are choices, often unconscious, that can be rewritten with awareness and practice. You are not condemned to live under the shadow of what was installed in you long ago. You are the engineer. You are the one who holds the power to tear down the old structures and to build new ones that serve your life, your purpose, your destiny. So let this be etched deeply. Belief is the DNA of your reality. It is the blueprint signed in the language of certainty. It is the magnet that attracts experiences. It is the lens that colors perception. You do not have to remain the prisoner of yesterday's beliefs. You can choose, you can design, you can install, and the moment you do, the universe has no choice but to respond. For the world does not give you what you merely hope for. It gives you what you believe you already are. Chapter 4, the fourth power, emotion. We now arrive at the fiery heart of creation, the engine of the soul, the power that ignites all others into movement. The fourth and most volatile of the 7 powers is emotion. If your thoughts and beliefs are the skeletal framework of reality, then your emotions are the current that animates that framework, the electrical charge that turns a silent structure into a living force. Imagine a light bulb, perfect in form, flawless in design, but without electricity, it remains dark, inert, lifeless. So it is with your intentions. Without emotion, they are blueprints without breath. With emotion, they come alive. Yet most of us have been conditioned to see emotions in distorted ways. Some are taught to repress them, to treat them as enemies that betray weakness. Others are taught to see them as uncontrollable storms, random reactions to the outside world, forces that overwhelm rather than serve. Both views leave us powerless, victims of our inner climate. But the conscious creator sees emotions differently. They are neither enemies to be crushed nor wild beasts to be feared. They are both compass and fuel, your guidance system and your energy source. As a guidance system, every emotion you feel is a signal. It is feedback from your deeper self, a dashboard indicator revealing the quality of the energy you are radiating. There are no good or bad emotions in a moral sense. There are only expansive emotions that indicate alignment and contractive emotions that signal misalignment. When you feel love, joy, gratitude, or peace, these are confirmations that your thoughts are tuned to your true self and to the reality you are meant to create. To feel good is not a luxury, it is alignment, it is resonance, it is the vibration of reception. Conversely, fear, anger, envy, or sadness are not punishments, they are alarms. Anxiety warns that you are believing in scarcity. Anger tells you a boundary has been crossed. Sadness signals you are clinging to what needs release. To ignore these emotions is like removing the batteries from a smoke detector because you dislike the sound. The conscious creator listens. They do not drown the signal, they interpret it. But emotion is not only compass, it is also fuel. The subconscious mind, that great builder, does not respond to cold, abstract concepts. It responds to feeling. Emotion is its language. A thought such as, "I want prosperity," whispered with fear in the body, does not send a command of wealth. It sends the vibration of fear, and that is what the universe responds to. Emotion shouts louder than thought. And so the art of creation is not merely to think positively, but to feel deliberately. To generate, regardless of current circumstances, the emotional signature of the reality you wish to inhabit. You do not wait for success to arrive before feeling successful. You generate the state of success first, and it calls success to you. You do not wait for love before feeling loved. You embody love now, and love cannot help but mirror back to you. This is the great quantum leap. You stop living as a thermometer, passively reflecting the temperature of your surroundings, and you begin to live as a thermostat, setting the climate of your own life. To master this fourth power, you must become an alchemist of emotions. You must learn not to deny them, not to drown in them, but to transmute them, turning each into guidance, fuel, and strength. Begin with the emotional barometer. At the end of each day, draw a simple line across your journal, marking the moments where contractive emotions appeared: stress, anxiety, anger. Ask, what thought or belief was I holding just before this feeling arose? Then mark the moments when you felt expansive emotions: calm, joy, gratitude. Again ask, what thought was behind this feeling? With time, a startling clarity emerges. Emotions are not created by events, but by thoughts about events. This practice reconnects you to your compass and trains you to listen rather than judge. Next, practice emotional anchoring. Choose an expansive emotion you wish to cultivate, such as confidence. Close your eyes and relive a memory when you felt unshakably confident. Step fully into that moment. See the details, hear the sounds, and most importantly, feel the sensation in your body. Locate it, perhaps a solidity in the chest, a warmth in the spine. At the peak of this emotion, create a simple physical gesture, such as pressing thumb and forefinger together. Repeat this process several times. Over time, that gesture becomes an anchor, a switch you can activate to summon the state whenever you need it. Before a meeting, a conversation, a challenge, activate your anchor and let your nervous system flood with the chemistry of confidence. Finally, embrace the transmutation ritual. When a strong contractive emotion arises, do not repress it, for repression only buries energy that will emerge elsewhere in destructive form. Instead, give it a conscious outlet. Find privacy. Scream into a pillow. Strike a cushion. Blast music and dance until the energy burns out. Move the intensity outward, not against yourself or others, but into safe release. And as you release, hold the intention. I am clearing space for peace. Afterward, sit in silence, breathe deeply, and notice the calm that follows. You have honored the alarm without letting it burn your house down. Your emotions are not your enemies. They are the echo of your thoughts and the fuel of your becoming. They are the colors on the palette with which you paint your life. To live at their mercy is to surrender your canvas to chaos. To repress them is to drain your painting of color. But to master them, to listen and to direct them, is to take back the brush and paint consciously the picture you wish to live. To master attention was to reclaim your focus. To master imagination was to reclaim your vision. To master belief was to reclaim your foundation. But to master emotion is to light the fire, to ignite the engine, to breathe life into every other power. It is to step into the very heart of creation, carrying within you not only the blueprint, but the living flame that builds worlds. Chapter 5, the fifth power, the word. At the heart of almost every great mystical tradition lies a profound truth. The universe was not formed out of inert matter, but was spoken, sung, vibrated into existence. In ancient Egypt, it was said that the god Ptah created the world simply by naming all things. In the Gospel of John, it is written, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." Across cultures and eras, the teaching is the same. Sound is creation, vibration is genesis, the Word is the seed of reality. And yet, somewhere along the way, we forgot. We began to treat words as cheap tokens for exchanging data, tools for trivial communication, throwaway sounds with little weight. We speak carelessly, we think carelessly. We repeat phrases in the silence of our inner dialogue as if they meant nothing. But every word you utter, and even more importantly, every word you whisper to yourself in thought, is not casual. It is a decree. It is a spell. It is a vibration you send into the field of reality. It is a command your subconscious mind and the universe itself rush to obey. The word is the bridge between the invisible world of intention and the visible world of form. Thoughts and images are fluid, ethereal. They live as potential. But the moment you wrap them in words, you anchor them, you crystallize them, you give shape and sound to what was once formless. To speak is to begin materialization. This is why your language must be guarded with care. For most people, unknowingly use this sacred power against themselves day after day, building prisons out of their own vocabulary. Your habitual language reveals the truth of your consciousness. It is the most accurate diagnosis of the reality you are creating. There are words that carry power, and there are words that drain it. Words of impotence are the subtle saboteurs, the phrases of weakness woven into our culture of doubt. "I'll try" is perhaps the most insidious of all. On the surface, it appears harmless, even humble, but beneath it lies a declaration of hesitation, an admission of possible failure, a refusal to commit. The universe does not respond to attempts, it responds to decisions. "I hope" places all power outside of you. It is the language of a beggar, not a creator. Hope in itself is not wrong, but as a declaration it leaves you powerless, suggesting that your fate rests in forces beyond your command. "I need" is even more destructive, for it vibrates with the energy of lack. Each time you say "I need," you affirm the state of not having. You energize emptiness. And "I should" is the whisper of guilt, of external obligation. It does not inspire, it resists. The energy of "should" often produces the opposite of what it intends, for it arises not from choice, but from pressure. Words of power, on the other hand, are forged in the fire of sovereignty. They are clear, direct, and aligned. Where impotence says "I'll try," power says "I choose" or "I decide." These are words of authority, words that carve pathways through reality. Where impotence says "I hope," power says "I know." It is a declaration of faith, of certainty. Where impotence says "I need," power says "I am" or "I have." These are declarations of fullness, of ownership. Where impotence says "I should," power says "I want" or "I am committed to." Desire and commitment spring from authenticity, not guilt. And above all, the most powerful declaration in any language are the words "I am." These two words are the supreme command, the master decree, the identity code. Whatever follows "I am" becomes a direct instruction to your subconscious, and your subconscious, ever obedient, will reorganize your reality to match that declaration. If your habitual language is "I am clumsy," "I am unlucky," "I am always tired," then your reality will echo back with experiences to confirm those identities. But if you persist in declaring "I am competent," "I am magnetic," "I am vitality itself," you are planting new seeds, writing new instructions into the blueprint of your life. And reality, by law, will conform. To become a master of the word is to become an artisan of language. It is to treat every sentence as a chisel striking the marble of existence. It is to hold your words with reverence, knowing that each one is a spell shaping your future. And like any art, mastery requires practice. The first practice is the vocabulary audit. For 3 days, watch your words with the eye of an auditor. Carry a small notebook or keep a simple log on your phone. Every time you hear yourself speak or even think phrases of impotence, mark it down. "I'll try," "I hope," "I need," "I should." Do not judge yourself. Do not attempt to change it yet. Simply observe. By the end of 3 days, you will have a map of your linguistic habits. You will see the hidden source code of your self-sabotage. Awareness is always the first step. The second practice is conscious replacement. Once you are aware, you intervene. Every time you catch an impotent phrase rising to your lips, pause. Breathe. Replace it with a word of power. I'll try becomes I will or I choose. I need more money becomes I choose to attract abundance or I am open to prosperity. The shift may feel small at first, but the emotional change within you is immediate. You begin to feel stronger, clearer, more aligned. Each replacement is an act of real-time reprogramming, moving you from slave to master of your language. The third practice is the decree journal. Each morning, dedicate 5 minutes to writing 3 powerful declarations for your day. They must be present tense, they must be infused with I am, and they must be read aloud with conviction. I am a channel of creativity today. I am calm and compassionate in all interactions. I am a magnet for opportunities and connections. As you write and speak these decrees, you are not begging. You are not pleading. You are not asking permission. You are commanding. You are giving orders to your subconscious, to your nervous system, to the quantum field. You are speaking reality into form. Your words are not casual sounds. They are the magic wand with which you sculpt energy. Every phrase is a spell, every sentence a vibration, every declaration a brushstroke on the canvas of your destiny. To be careless with words is to throw paint blindly onto that canvas. To be impeccable with words is to paint with precision, with intention, with mastery. Therefore, guard your words. Guard them not only in conversation with others, but most of all, in the dialogue you hold with yourself. For the outer world responds not only to what you speak aloud, but also to the constant stream of declarations you make silently in your mind. Be the guardian of your own language. Speak with awareness. Declare with power. Choose the words that build, that uplift, that align with the reality you long to live. Because in the end, every word you say is a seed, and sooner or later, those seeds will break through the soil of your life and bear fruit. Choose words of scarcity, and you will harvest lack. Choose words of power, and you will harvest abundance. Your future is always being spoken, one word at a time. Chapter 6, the 6th power, intuition. Welcome to the 6th and most subtle of the 7 powers, the receptive faculty of the soul, the silent compass that guides you through mystery, the power of intuition. For too long, we have enthroned logic as the supreme ruler of the mind, worshiping analysis and calculation as the only valid forms of intelligence. Under this tyranny of logic, intuition has been dismissed, labeled a gut feeling, magical thinking, or just emotion. But this dismissal is one of the greatest lies we have told ourselves. Intuition is not illogical. It is superlogical. It is a higher form of knowing, a kind of lightning-fast intelligence that works on scales and speeds your conscious reasoning cannot touch. It is the whisper of the infinite reaching you through a channel beyond words. To understand intuition, we must know where it comes from. It has 2 primary sources. The first is your subconscious supercomputer. From the moment you were born, your subconscious has recorded every detail of your life. The faces, voices, gestures, textures, and choices. Millions upon millions of impressions far too vast for your conscious mind to remember. When you meet a new situation, your rational mind can only process a few data points at once. But your subconscious instantly scans its entire library, recognizes patterns you do not consciously see, and delivers the conclusion in a flash. It communicates in its own language, a hunch, a nudge, a sense that this is right or something is off. That sensation you sometimes feel, that immediate knowing you cannot explain, is often the result of immense analysis performed by your inner genius in less than a heartbeat. The second source of intuition is even deeper. It is the channel that connects you to universal intelligence, the living field of consciousness that unites all things. Through this doorway, you gain access not only to the memory of your personal life, but to the wisdom of existence itself. This is the source of inspirations that arrive without warning, synchronicities that seem too precise to be chance, and warnings that come in time to save you from danger. When you suddenly hear an inner voice saying, "Turn here," or when the right book falls into your lap at exactly the right moment, you are witnessing the movements of universal intuition guiding your path. The language of intuition is subtle, and you must learn to recognize its dialects. The most immediate is the body's voice. A true intuitive signal often feels like expansion, openness, warmth in your chest, or a lightness in your step. When the signal is a warning, it feels like contraction, tightness, a knot in your stomach. Another dialect is the silent certainty that comes with no emotional charge, just a calm, neutral knowing. Intuition also speaks through symbols, the imagery of dreams, the metaphors in your imagination, the synchronicities in your daily life. These are the ways the invisible world leaves breadcrumbs for you to follow. But the greatest challenge is learning to distinguish the true voice of intuition from its imposters. Fear and desire. Fear is loud, insistent, anxious, always pushing you toward safety at the cost of growth. Desire, when it comes from ego, is impatient, restless, grasping for outcomes. Intuition is different. Intuition is calm. It is detached. It does not rush. It guides you not toward comfort, but toward growth, wholeness, and alignment. Where fear shouts, intuition whispers. Where desire clings, intuition releases. To develop this subtle faculty, you must learn to tune your inner antenna, like adjusting a radio until you find the right frequency. The signal of intuition is always there, but the static of noise, distraction, and constant thought drowns it out. The more you learn silence, the clearer the voice becomes. Begin with the ritual of silence. Dedicate at least 10 minutes each day to absolute stillness. No phone, no book, no music. Simply sit, breathe, and let the noise subside. Do not try to achieve anything. Your only task is to create space. Silence is the amplifier of intuition. Next, keep a hunches journal. Trust in intuition grows with evidence. Create 3 columns: the hunch, my action, and the outcome. Each time you feel an inner impulse, write it down. Record whether you followed it or ignored it, and note the result. Over time, you will build your own database of proof. You will see patterns. You will begin to convince your rational mind that this faculty is real, reliable, and worthy of trust. Finally, practice the inner oracle. When faced with a question, ask clearly before sleep, meditation, or any receptive state. Formulate the question in simple, direct words, then release it. Do not wrestle with the answer. Let go. Answers will arrive in unexpected ways, in a dream, in a sudden insight upon waking, in a phrase overheard, in a symbol that lingers in your awareness. When the answer comes, capture it immediately. Write it down. Intuition is often fleeting, and honoring it with writing deepens your trust. Your intuition is your inner compass, your personal GPS for the soul. Logic can plan, analyze, and calculate. But logic walks with maps that are always outdated, for maps can only describe what has been. Intuition, by contrast, gives you real-time navigation. It tunes you to the living currents of the universe. To ignore it is to wander blindly, forcing your way with effort. To trust it is to walk with grace, led by wisdom that sees far beyond the horizon of your conscious mind. In the end, intuition is not mystical. It is practical magic. It is the most advanced intelligence available to you, a direct line to the wisdom of both your inner genius and the infinite whole. The more you honor it, the more clearly it speaks. The more you practice silence, journaling, and trust, the more you realize that you were never meant to walk this path alone. There is always a guidance system inside you, always a whisper pointing the way. And so this 6th power reminds you, you are never without direction. You are never lost. The compass of intuition is always present, waiting for you to turn down the noise and listen. Chapter 7, the 7th power, the will. You now stand before the final gate of mastery. You have awakened attention, imagination, belief, emotion, word, and intuition. Each of these powers is vast in its own right, but without one final element, they remain scattered energies, like brilliant musicians playing in different corners of a room, each with talent but no harmony. To unify them, to transform scattered sound into music, vision into reality, potential into power, you need a conductor. That conductor is the will. The will is the sovereign monarch of your inner kingdom. If the other 6 powers are ministers serving their purposes, attention illuminating, imagination designing, belief authorizing, emotion energizing, word commanding, intuition guiding, the will is the ruler who brings them into alignment. Its function is not to create energy, but to direct it. It is the force of conscious, deliberate, sustained choice. Without it, even the most inspired vision remains a dream. With it, the dream marches forward step by step into form. Too often we confuse will with brute force. We imagine it as clenched teeth, furrowed brows, sweaty determination. But true will is far more elegant. It is not the exhausted soldier pushing blindly against resistance. It is the general surveying the battlefield from above, calmly choosing the next move. It is the conductor who knows not only when to raise the baton, but also when to let silence fall. The power of will expresses itself through three essential functions: initiative, persistence, and inhibition. Initiative is the spark, the moment of ignition. It is the raising of the baton, the first step into action. You can imagine a magnificent future, believe in it with certainty, feel it with passion, and declare it with words. But if you do not move, it remains potential. Initiative is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is the courage to begin, even when you are uncertain. It is the decision to step forward rather than wait for perfect conditions that will never arrive. Every time you overcome inertia and act, you strengthen this muscle. The first movement is always the hardest, but once the wheel is turning, momentum carries you. Persistence is the strength to endure. It is the power to hold steady through the middle, where the initial excitement has faded and the destination is not yet in sight. This is where most creations falter. The garden is planted, but weeds grow. The journey has begun, but fatigue sets in. Persistence is not blind stubbornness. It is intelligent endurance. It is steady like water flowing over rock, carving canyons not through force but through constancy. It is flexible determination, the willingness to adjust strategy without abandoning the goal. It is the rhythm of showing up daily, even when the mood is gone, trusting that small, repeated steps build mountains. Inhibition is the power of restraint, the most subtle and perhaps the most profound function of will. It is the ability to say no to impulses, to distractions, to destructive reactions. Inhibition is the conductor raising a hand to silence the orchestra, knowing that music is made as much of rests as of notes. In life, inhibition is the pause before reacting in anger, the choice to let fear pass without feeding it, the decision to resist the lure of comfort when purpose calls. It is the sacred space between stimulus and response where true freedom resides. To inhibit is not to suppress, but to choose. It is the strength to redirect energy rather than waste it. Together, these three, initiative, persistence, inhibition, form the triangle of will. Initiative begins, persistence continues, inhibition protects. With them, your other powers gain direction, rhythm, and unity. To strengthen your will, you must practice deliberately. For initiative, use the 5-second rule. When you feel the impulse to act but hesitation rises, count down 4, 3, 2, 1, and move before the mind sabotages you. For persistence, practice the chain method. Choose a habit tied to your greater vision. Each day you complete it, mark a red X on your calendar. Soon the chain itself becomes motivation. You will not want to break it. For inhibition, cultivate the sacred pause. Choose one trigger that normally provokes you. The next time it arises, breathe for 3 seconds before responding. This pause breaks the automatic chain, returning choice to your hands. The will is not about endless struggle. It is about direction, steadiness, and mastery. It is the hand that gathers attention, imagination, belief, emotion, word, and intuition into one symphony. Attention focuses on the score. Imagination shows the finished masterpiece. Belief assures the players they can perform it. Emotion infuses passion. Word gives clear cues. Intuition guides the tempo, and will unites them, holding them in harmony until the final note resounds. The seventh power is the seal of sovereignty. When you claim it, you stop being a wanderer of circumstances and become the conductor of your own destiny. You stop scattering your powers in every direction and begin directing them like an army under command, like an orchestra playing as one. And when the will takes its rightful throne, the music of your life becomes not noise, not accident, not unfinished fragments, but a symphony. Chapter 8, The Synergy of Powers, the Architect's Ritual. Your toolbox is now complete. Within it rests the full set of instruments you have uncovered. Attention, the measuring tape of consciousness. Imagination, the design software of the soul. Belief, the foundation that gives stability. Emotion, the current that fuels and animates. The word, the signed contract that authorizes creation. Intuition, the subtle sight that surveys hidden terrain. And will, the master builder who directs them all. Each of these powers is magnificent on its own, yet their greatest strength does not emerge in isolation. Tools, no matter how finely crafted, do not raise cathedrals if they lie unused. Instruments, no matter how exquisite, do not produce symphonies unless they play together in harmony. The truth is that the real magic, the kind that shapes entire worlds, comes not from the tools in separation, but from their synergy. It arises when your sovereign consciousness, the architect of your being, gathers them into one process with a single clear purpose. Until that alignment is established, your life will reflect both brilliance and chaos. You may design palaces in imagination, yet with words still decree you are unworthy of more than a shack. You may summon will to act, yet unresolved emotions anchored in old wounds sabotage your foundation. You may follow the whispers of intuition, yet belief filters opportunities away as impossible. The result is contradiction, progress mingled with collapse, clarity followed by confusion. The next step of mastery, then, is learning to unify all 7 powers into a single act of deliberate creation. And this unification is achieved through ritual. By ritual, we do not mean superstition, performance, or meaningless ceremony. Ritual, in this sense, is a structure of deliberate actions, performed with sacred intention. It is the architect stepping into the office each morning, closing the door on distraction, and consciously choosing the design of the day. This is the most important meeting of your day, the moment you stop being the passive effect of external circumstances and claim your place as their cause. The morning is the most fertile time for this work. Before the noise of the world hijacks your tools, before notifications fracture your attention, before routines scatter your focus, you enter your inner office. The subconscious is still pliable, the mind not yet cluttered, the heart open to impression. At this threshold between night and day, you begin the process of creation. The architect's ritual unfolds as a living sequence. It begins with stillness. You do not impose, you listen. Behind the noise of thought lies the quiet voice of intuition. In silence, a subtle impression emerges. Peace, courage, clarity, creativity. This is your soul's topographic survey, the report of the most fertile ground for building today. From this impression will steps forward. Decision is made. The vague sense becomes a deliberate intention. Today, I will anchor my day in peace. Today, I choose creativity as my guide. Writing this intention seals it, transforming it from possibility into commitment. Next, the word enters, carrying authority. The intention becomes a decree, present and powerful. I am calm strength. I am a channel of limitless creativity. As the declaration repeats, belief awakens. You do not merely wish or hope, you declare with conviction. The subconscious receives the blueprint signed and authorized. Then imagination and emotion merge. The architect does not merely sketch. The architect walks through the building before a single stone is laid. Close your eyes and envision the day unfolding according to your decree. See yourself in situations not as you fear them to be, but as you choose them to be. If peace is your intention, imagine yourself navigating conflict with serenity. If creativity is your decree, imagine yourself solving problems with inspired ideas. As you imagine, let emotions surge. Gratitude, joy, calm. Feel them as though the reality is already here. The subconscious cannot distinguish between vividly felt imagination and actual experience. To it, both are equally real. Thus, the building process begins before the first brick of the day is laid. Finally, attention completes the ritual. The emotion you feel is gathered as light radiant within you. With deliberate focus, you project it forward into the day, illuminating the path ahead. Attention becomes the lamp that shines on the blueprint, ensuring the builders, your subconscious, and the greater field of life know exactly what to construct. 10 or 15 minutes is all it takes. Yet the power of this ritual does not lie in its length, but in its consistency. One day begun with design carries a very different energy than one begun in distraction. 7 days of deliberate ritual produce evidence in your own experience. Greater clarity, steadier emotions, sharper decisions, more synchronicities. The difference is undeniable. Design your ritual as your own. Choose the silence, the affirmations, the images, or the music that best summon your focus. The blueprint described here is a template. The true power comes when you personalize it. For what is born of your creativity will resonate most deeply with your subconscious. The 7 powers are not ornaments to be admired or tools to be touched occasionally. They are the permanent counsel of a master architect. Each morning, when you sit at your inner desk, you summon them into service. Attention focuses, imagination creates, belief anchors, emotion fuels, word commands. intuition guides, will directs. Together, they do not simply respond to life, they construct it. Consider for a moment what happens when this practice is neglected. Without ritual, the day begins scattered. Attention is captured by noise. Imagination drifts into worry. Belief remains entangled in old programs. Emotion follows external triggers. Words are careless, intuition is drowned out, and will loses its authority. The result is a day lived by default rather than by design. But with ritual, the opposite is true. You enter as cause, not effect. You declare, design, and direct, and life responds. The cathedrals of your destiny will not rise in a single act, but through daily practice, stone by stone, word by word, choice by choice. The synergy of powers is not an occasional event, but a discipline. And each morning you step into your office as architect, you participate in the most sacred of all acts, the deliberate creation of your reality. Chapter 9, The Daily Workshop, Mastery of the Everyday. How do you preserve the architect's clarity once you leave the quiet of your ritual and step into the noise of the world? How do you keep the music you composed in the stillness of morning from being drowned out by the day's constant demands and distractions? This is the true test of mastery. It is not proven in silence, but in sound, not in retreat, but in engagement. The 7 powers were never intended as abstract concepts to admire from a distance. They are working tools, and their rightful place is in the living workshop of your everyday life. Daily life is not a distraction from your inner work. It is the proving ground, the laboratory where intention must face reality. Here, in the midst of ordinary interactions and unforeseen events, your powers are tested, strengthened, and refined. The purpose of this chapter is to show you how to transform common challenges into opportunities to practice mastery, and how to use the 7 powers as instruments in real time, so that you are no longer a passive reactor, but an active creator. Consider first the difficult meeting or the challenging conversation. The untrained response is automatic: tension in the body, defensiveness in the mind, a rush to counter and win. But the conscious architect applies tools deliberately. Attention anchors you in the present through breath and body, establishing calm. Intuition then reveals what lies beneath surface words, the underlying needs and emotions that are rarely spoken aloud. Word is used with precision, shifting from accusation to responsibility. I feel, rather than you always. This subtle shift changes the entire dynamic. Finally, will guides inhibition, creating space rather than interruption, and initiative, proposing solutions instead of escalating conflict. The conversation is transformed from confrontation into constructive dialogue, and what could have been a battlefield becomes a bridge. Now consider the experience of creative block. The ordinary response is frustration and self-criticism, forcing effort where flow is absent. This only deepens the block, feeding the cycle of tension. The architect instead invokes imagination, creating a mental rehearsal of the desired outcome already achieved, seeing clearly the solution and stepping into the finished scene. Emotion follows, deliberately generating the feeling of satisfaction or relief that such success would bring. In that shift, your energy changes, your state transforms. Belief then reinforces the process with a declaration: I am a channel of creativity. Ideas flow through me with ease. Intuition is trusted by creating space, stepping away, walking, resting, so the subconscious can provide the answer. In time, the solution emerges not by force but by alignment, often arriving in the shower, on a walk, or in the middle of something unrelated. Or take the case of overwhelming tasks, the endless list that presses in on your mind and drains your energy before you even begin. The reactive response is anxiety, a futile attempt to do everything at once, producing exhaustion and little progress. The conscious architect begins with will, choosing one task as the priority and setting the rest aside, reminding yourself that you cannot build 10 walls at once. You must lay one brick with care. Attention follows, building a fortress of focus by removing distractions and dedicating undivided time to a single activity. Word frames the effort with an empowering decree: I complete this task with clarity and excellence. And as you work, you discover the paradox of progress. By giving yourself wholly to one thing, momentum builds, and what once seemed overwhelming becomes manageable. Finally, consider the inevitable setback, the moment when life does not go as planned. The automatic response is complaint, frustration, or blame, an emotional spiral that can poison an entire day and blind you to opportunity. The architect responds differently. Belief affirms that obstacles carry meaning, that they are not punishments, but redirections. Intuition asks the guiding question, what is the hidden opportunity here? What can this teach me? Imagination then visualizes solutions and alternative paths, replacing fear with creativity, turning a wall into a doorway, a detour into a discovery. The setback becomes material for growth rather than defeat, the place where resilience is forged. To strengthen your use of the powers in daily life, you need consistent practice. The conscious pause is the first and most essential tool. Each time a wave of strong emotion rises, take a breath. Inhale to 4, exhale to 6. In this pause, you interrupt the automatic program and reclaim choice. You may then ask, which of my powers will serve me best in this moment? That simple act of pausing and choosing is often enough to change the entire trajectory of a conversation, a decision, or even a day. Next, adopt the discipline of a daily focus. Each morning, after setting your intention, choose one of the 7 powers as your practice for the day. Perhaps today you sharpen attention, listening deeply and working with focus. Tomorrow you refine word, speaking with clarity and precision. Another day, you may devote yourself to strengthening emotion, cultivating gratitude deliberately, or to honing intuition, listening to subtle impressions without dismissal. Over time, each power grows stronger until their use becomes natural, woven into the fabric of your behavior. At day's end, reinforce your progress through reflection. Spend 5 minutes with an integration journal, recording one instance in which you consciously applied a power to transform a situation. Identify the challenge, the power you used, and the outcome. By capturing these examples, you build evidence for yourself and proof for your subconscious that these strategies are effective. This is not busy work. It is how you train your inner mind to recognize success, to see that you are indeed capable of creating rather than reacting. Page by page, entry by entry, you are writing the record of your own transformation. Understand this well. True mastery is not measured in the calm of the morning ritual, but in the way you navigate the chaos of the day. It is seen in how you respond when tempers rise, when tasks multiply, when setbacks appear. It is measured in your ability to pause, to choose deliberately, to bring your powers into play when it matters most. The 7 powers are not meant to remain theoretical. They are meant to be lived. They are meant to be exercised in the workshop of your own experience. Your daily life is not in conflict with your inner practice. It is its extension, its testing ground, and its fulfillment. Every meeting, every obstacle, every moment of stress or inspiration is an invitation to pick up your tools and use them. This is where the architect proves their craft, in the living laboratory of ordinary hours, turning reaction into creation and chaos into order. And when you live this way, when you consistently bring the 7 powers into your daily work, you discover that mastery is not an achievement waiting at the end of the path. It is the path itself, walked step by step, practiced moment by moment, until creation becomes as natural as breath. Chapter 10, Living as a Conscious Creator. The masterpiece is you. This final step is not about learning a new power. It is about something far deeper, something more permanent. It is the transformation of identity itself. It is the moment when you no longer think of yourself as someone who uses the 7 powers, but as someone who is the 7 powers. They have become so natural, so woven into the fabric of your being that you no longer pause to remember them as techniques or strategies. They move through you as naturally as breath, as unconsciously as a heartbeat. This is the stage when the architect sets aside the blueprint, not because it has been forgotten, but because the architect has become the building. At the beginning of this journey, you were like the blind artisan. Life appeared as a block of hard marble, heavy, unyielding, and often threatening. Every strike of the chisel was fueled by fear of breaking something, fear of failing, fear of not being enough. The tools felt awkward in your hands, unfamiliar and heavy, and every mistake seemed catastrophic, as if it ruined the entire work. Your joy depended on the final result, on whether the world approved, on whether others applauded your efforts. The conscious creator sees differently. Reality is no longer rigid marble, but pliable clay, responsive, forgiving, ready to be shaped. The tools are no longer heavy because they are no longer separate. They have become extensions of your very hands, your mind, and your heart. Instead of fighting against life, you begin to listen to it, to feel its texture, to sense its potential. You no longer strike with fear, you guide with calm intention. What once felt like mistakes now become unexpected turns in the design, surprises that can lead to beauty greater than what you had imagined at the start. And perhaps most profound of all, you find that joy is no longer tied only to the final outcome. Joy emerges in the process itself, in the act of creation, in the alignment between inner vision and outer expression. Living as a conscious creator transforms everything. Even your relationship with time changes. The blind artisan is enslaved to the clock, to Chronos, always hurried, always worried that there is not enough. The conscious creator lives in a different rhythm, a more expansive sense of time, understanding that a single moment of inspired action is worth more than 100 hours of forced labor. Problems, too, take on a new light. To the blind artisan, a problem is a flaw, an intrusion, something to eliminate. To the conscious creator, a problem becomes part of the design itself, like a vein in the marble that can become the most striking feature of the sculpture. Even the obstacles become material for beauty. Most important of all, your source of fulfillment shifts. No longer are you at the mercy of applause or recognition. You do not need the world to tell you that your work is valuable. You know it in the act itself. The satisfaction comes from the feeling of alignment, from the joy of seeing an inner vision take form through your own hands, from the quiet ecstasy of creation itself. The applause, if it comes, is welcome, but it is no longer required. To live as a conscious creator is to carry certain commitments within you, not as rules, but as guiding vows that shape your life. You anchor yourself in presence because you know that the only true canvas is the moment before you. You no longer postpone creation to some distant future, nor do you remain chained to the past. You create here, now. You embrace sovereignty, no longer searching for answers outside yourself, but trusting the quiet wisdom of your own being. You become the sole authority in the design of your reality. And you embrace service, not because you must, but because you see clearly that the purpose of your power is not only to build for yourself, but to enrich the whole, to leave behind beauty, connection, and meaning that will ripple outward to others. And so the final practice is not about technique, but about declaration. It is about embodying this identity fully, about claiming with certainty who you have become. Each morning, you no longer remind yourself of what to learn. You remind yourself of who you are. You read your own words. You recall your own vision, and you ask yourself, what small stroke of creation will I make today? What deliberate act will I leave on the canvas of this moment? One brushstroke at a time, you sculpt yourself. One choice at a time, you reveal the masterpiece that has always been waiting beneath the stone. And here is the ultimate truth. The 7 tools you have studied are no longer separate instruments. Attention, imagination, belief, emotion, word, intuition, and will are not isolated faculties. They are the 7 rays of a single sun, the 7 facets of a single diamond, the 7 notes of the same symphony. They are your consciousness, your essence, your very being. The workshop is no longer a place you step into, it is the state in which you live. The clay of life responds to your touch, not with resistance, but with grace. This is the end of the book, but not the end of the path. In fact, this is the true beginning. For now, you know. The blindfold has fallen. You no longer move through life by accident. You create with intention. You no longer ask, how is it done? But what do I choose to create now? And in asking this question, you awaken to the greatest secret of all. The masterpiece you came here to create was never something outside of you. It was never just a work or an achievement or a legacy. The masterpiece is you. It always has been. And now you finally know it. You have reached the closing words of this journey, but in truth, they are not an ending at all. They are an invitation, a threshold into the life you now have the power to shape. The 7 power is not just a title to be remembered. It is a reminder that within you lies everything you need to create, to transform, and to live with intention. I want to pause here and thank you from the heart for giving your time, your focus, and your trust to these words. It is no small thing to choose to listen, to open yourself to new ways of thinking, and to dare to believe that your life can be shaped differently. That choice already sets you apart, and it already places you on a path of conscious creation. As you close this audiobook, my hope is simple, that you do not leave these powers on the page or in the sound of my voice, but that you carry them with you into the world. Use them in the moments that matter most. Use them when you feel tired, when you face challenge, when you are tempted to forget who you are. Let your days become your canvas, and let your choices become brushstrokes of a masterpiece only you can create. From Book Sounds Better You, thank you again for walking this path. May you go forward with courage, with clarity, and with joy. May you discover, again and again, the truth that your life is not something happening to you, but something rising from you. And above all, may you never forget, the masterpiece has always been you.